Hello and welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and today we're going to look at calcium and alkalinity. Calcium and alkalinity are two of the most important things you're going to dose to your tank. When I first started up this 90-gallon system, I used calc waltzer. I put the calc waltzer in the auto top-off reservoir. I initially started with 2 tablespoons per 5-gallon jug, and then I upped it to 3, then 4, then 5. And I could not get the calcium levels above about 370, 380. It would vary, but that was as good as it got for me. Didn't seem to matter how much I dosed, the calcium still wouldn't go above 370, 380. And I was afraid to dose anymore because I was worried about the pH going too high. So I've done some research and I've decided to go to 2-part. So the 2-part I went with was the bulk resupply mixed 2-part. So this is a dry mix, and the reason I chose it is it's relatively inexpensive compared to any of the pre-mixed stuff, and it's really not hard to mix. So come take a look. I'll show you how I mixed it, how I dosed it, and we'll see how it all works out. Okay, so here's our bulk resupply 2-part kit. It comes with calcium chloride for the calcium, a mixing jug for it, soda for the alkalinity, a mixing jug for it, your magnesium chloride and magnesium sulfate for your magnesium, and a mixing jug for it. It also comes with a couple of dosing glasses, a couple of pumps to put onto your jugs, and a funnel for filling, and a couple of handy little straws for these guys, just so they can get down the solution and suck. Okay, so to mix up the 2-part solution, it just has instructions on the side. It's for calcium 2.5 dry cups per gallon of RODI water. So all we're going to do is fill up 2.5 of these dry cups. And there's probably a better way to do this without making too big of a mess. So there goes 1. Two. And this will be a half. I know you should probably use another separate measuring cup for exact accuracy, but I'm pretty sure this will be well within the range of accepted tolerances. So it's just rinse and repeat for the rest of the jugs. I'm going to go ahead and put enough in each jug for 1 gallon of each. And then I'm going to go take these down to the basement where I keep the RODI and fill them up with RODI water. But so far, the mix-up process looks really easy. Instructions are very clear. So we'll see how it ends up working out. Alright, so we've got our calcium mixed up in the jug, our alkalinity in the jug, and our magnesium in the jug. And holy cow! Look at the amount of material that's going to have to dissolve in the RODI water. So this is 5 cups of the chloride, 3 cups of the magnesium sulfate. It's a lot of material. I'm sure it's capable of dissolving in there. I'm guessing it's going to take a little bit of time. It does say not to use it immediately. So we'll go down to the basement and we'll put some RODI in these guys. Okay, so we're in the furnace room of my basement. We're getting ready to add RODI water to the jugs that we just mixed up with the calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. So I'll give you the 10-cent tour of the room and kind of give you an idea of what's to come with Mile High Reefers. So first and probably least exciting is my shelf of many things. It's just an old shelf. I got all of my chemicals and everything on it. You can see I put all my
bulk reef supply mixing stuff on there. I've got an Aqua CEV 120 up on top, a bunch of boxes full of old stuff, and you can see the horse troughs down here. This is the future refugium for Mile High reefers. The reef tank is right above us, so the goal is to have the drain line come all the way down the floor, return line go all the way up, refugium, frag tank, frag tank. So don't tell the wife about the frag tanks. She's unlikely to watch these videos anyways, but don't tell her. That's between us. So for RODI water, I've got a bulk resupply RODI water unit that runs over into this 30-gallon tank. This 30-gallon tank has an auto shut-off switch in it, so when it's full, it just shuts the water off and life is good. It comes down to a ball valve so I can turn the water on and off, and it got a hose cooked up so I can fill it up my auto top off, or I can fill up anything else I need to. Below that is the tank I use to mix my salt water up in. So you just dump salt in there and add the RODI, and we'll cover that in a future episode. But for now, let's go ahead and add some water to our jugs. Okay, so I'm going to add some water to our jugs. Okay, so here's the RODI, and then I've got it set up, so I just turn a valve and it all starts to go in. And I'm going to fill these up about half full, I think, and that way I can give them a real good shaking. Alrighty. Same with the magnesium. Of course, it's already almost half full. And same with the alkalinity. Alright. So now, put our lids back on. And give them a solid shaking. So my goal with the shaking is to mix up as much of the material as possible, just to really get it in solution. So I can still hear solid particles bouncing around down there. So they say it's going to take a while. We'll see how long it actually takes. So here's the magnesium. And surprisingly, with as much material as in there, it is actually going into solution really, really well. That's fantastic. Yeah, the magnesium's great. The soda ash has some pretty big particles in the bottom. It may be just that I need to add more water and that'll help. But the magnesium, that really went to solution well. And the calcium is almost to solution without even mixing. So obviously part of the reason they want us using RODI water is so that there's nothing in it, so that it can go to solution as quickly as possible. So give this guy a little bit more of a shake. Alright, well, still some big stuff in the bottom, but we'll add more water to it and see how it all goes. And I want to keep the caps the same so we don't mix anything up. And we'll fill each one up. It's more than plenty. Probably a little more than I needed, but a little hard to control with this big hose.
Alright. So, it's all looking good. We'll let these sit for a couple hours. Then we'll dose the tank. I believe the solution's supposed to go pretty much clear, and we should have no large dissolved solids in there. So, the calcium pretty much looks usable. The magnesium, it's not clear yet. Little tiny bit on the bottom, not very much. And the alkalinity, it does have some pretty big chunks down here. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not, but pretty big chunks. So everything looks impressive except the alkalinity has some really big chunks in it. So we'll see how that dissolves down, see what kind of an issue that is. Okay, so we've tested all of our calcium, we've tested all of our alkalinity. We have to test before we put in. So calcium, we were hanging out at 390. Yesterday when I tested it, it was at 400, so I know right now I'm using 10 parts per million per day. My ultimate goal is 450. And as I stated earlier, before I used 2-part, I couldn't get it above 370 to 380. I was dosing with calc. That's as high as it would go. I started with some bionic I had left over. That got me to that 400 range. But now that we got the 2-part from bulk resupply, we're going to start using that. So to get from 390 to 410, which is my short-term goal, it's going to take 2 of these, which is 200 milliliters. Now, I don't want to go too fast, and I personally feel like I'm pushing it at 420, but I'm using 10 a day, so if I don't, at 410, I'm not going to gain anything, right, if I only use 1. But my guesstimate is right now I'll be dosing 1 of these a day in the future. But what we're going to do is we're going to dose 2 of these until we hit about calcium levels about 430, assuming it goes well. And then we're going to start having the dose until the calcium starts leveling out. And that's how we're going to fine-tune our calcium levels. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and dose equal parts of alkalinity. Should not be an issue. Hanging out at an alkalinity level of 9.3 right now. We can go to 12. Obviously, there's only so much room for calcium and alkalinity, right? So these have to share the same space in the water. So we'll make that happen. We'll do the best we can. So magnesium, we were at a total level of 1170 when I measured it. And we want to get to about 13 to 1350. That's natural seawater. 1325, probably 1325 is what I'm going to be shooting for. Once we get it in there, it should stay in there. The corals aren't going to use it much. But to get to 1300, it's going to take 8 of these 100 milliliter units. So to avoid stressing the corals, I'm going to do 2 of these today, 2 tomorrow, 2 tomorrow, 2 the day after, until we've done 8 of these. So it'll take me 4 days to dose the magnesium. And I'm going to go ahead and test it every day to check it. I'm even going to test right after we do this just to see the immediate results. I'll probably give it an hour to cycle in, and I'll do the test. And then I will have graphs at the end of all this to kind of show how good or bad we did and what kind of problems we encountered. So to start with, I'm going to go ahead and fill some of these up. So we're going to go ahead and fill this guy up to the 100 mil mark. As these get lower, I'm thinking it might be easier just to pour it in. We'll see. So there's one. So this is the alkalinity. how we dose it.
Okay, so you can see my overflow. That's actually where I'm going to dose my calcium and alkalinity. My thought being that by dosing it here, the water is going to have to mix in with everything in the overflow and go all the way through the overflow before it makes it back to the tank. So it should be mixed in as well as possible before we stress any of the corals out. So hopefully it's well mixed. So first one we'll dump in. Second one we'll dump in. Now, everything's going to have an opportunity to mix up in this overflow. It's going to travel down to the sump, and then it's going to mix up from there. And my thought is that this is going to be the most effective way to do it. We'll find out if that's true. The other thing is it might kill some of that algae in there with those high levels of calcium. Probably not, but you can always hope because there's a lot in there. But we'll try this method for a while and see how it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and do another dose of the calcium, another dose of the alkalinity, and another dose of and I'll put the magnesium in, and we'll monitor this method and see how it all goes. So stay tuned.
So those of you that have used soda ash to dose alkalinity before are probably saying, you didn't seriously just do that. Yes, I did. I put 200 mLs of soda ash in this tank. What happened? Alkalinity went way up. Yes, that's a good thing. Probably went up way too fast. But pH went up to 8.8. And that's a stressor this tank really didn't need. It turned out to be okay. The 8.8 alkalinity didn't seem to have any ill effect on the tank. It lasted about 2 days. Ever since then, it's been hanging out about 8.2. So far, I'm liking the dosing system. I'm going through getting about 70 mils a day right now, and we are holding a 420 to 430 calcium. We are hanging out at 9.3 to 9.6 on the alkalinity. Magnesium's been doing good. It was 1350 after my last water change. It went down to about 1320. So far, it's been a really good product, easy to use. All of the product dissolved easily into the water. It did take a little bit of time, but that really wasn't an issue for me. So I do recommend the product. I do recommend the dosing. Two-part. The one caveat is you cannot use this product like some two-part systems. If you are going to use it, you're just going to have to be aware that every day you're dosing calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, and pH. You're buffering that pH. It's really cool. My pH is now holding 8.2. It's very similar to what I was doing for the calc ulcer, and that's one thing I really like about it. So I'm liking the product. Just be careful of the one little mistake I made, and I think it'll work great for you. So we'll see you next time on Mile High Reefers. Subscribe to the channel, like my videos, and I'll continue to make more.